Good afternoon. My name is Corina Ene, and on behalf of Superintendent Hofmeister and the State Department of Education, I would like to welcome you to the Schoolwide and Targeted Assistance Plan webinar hosted by the Office of Federal Programs. I would like to start by mentioning that these are the templates that will be used starting with the next school year, 2020-2021. And they will be uploaded in the grants management system in the consolidated application. There will be no separate applications like they are currently, but they will be uploaded PDF documents based on this template. So on the first page of the plan, you will see general information, district name, county district number, superintendent's name, phone number, and email. At the very top, you'll have to indicate the school year, which will be 2020-2021, next summer, I would say. Then indicate if it's an initial plan or a revised plan, and then you will record the date. The way how this template is formatted is comprised in 5 sections, each of them having 3 parts. The first part, and I think I'm gonna just scroll down. So the first part is, or are sections of the law, of the ESSA law, where the school principal pretty much certifies that all these sections are met and the requirements are met as well. The second part will be some sort of a rubric where you'll have, you can self-assess and see if you meet expectations, you are under the development stage, or you do not meet expectations. And I will go a little bit over each section of these 3 parts of the rubric. The third part of each section will have a text box where you can type in, and you will provide narrative answers addressing the above expectations. So going back to the first component, which is the parent and community stakeholder involvement. And by checking this text box, the school principal will certify that the plan was developed with the involvement of parents and other members of the community, including teachers, principals, other school leaders, paraprofessionals, administrators, and to the extent feasible, tribes and tribal organizations, specialized instructional support personnel, technical assistance providers, and so on. Also, it's a certification that the plan is available to all the local educational agencies, parents, and the public, and the information contained in this plan will be in an understandable and uniform format, and to the extent practicable, provided in a language that the parents can understand. Also, this is a certification that the school meets the requirements of Section 1116 under ESSA, including the development and implementation of a parent and family engagement policy that includes a school parent compact outlining shared responsibilities for high student academic achievement. So once you start developing the plan will be considered to meet expectations if it describes specific strategies to increase family and community stakeholder involvement, specifically among those who represent the most at-risk students based upon results of the needs assessment. If you want to go to the developing stage to compare and see where you are, a plan under development will have specific strategies to increase parent involvement that have been identified and implemented and may be somehow aligned with the needs assessment. If the plan doesn't meet expectations, then the specific strategies to increase parent involvement have not been identified and implemented, or they may not align with the needs assessment. We'll go back to the meets expectations, and again, a good plan will have parents and community stakeholders, will describe how parents and community stakeholders who reflect the demographic composition of the school are included as decision makers in a broad spectrum of school decisions, including the development and monitoring of the Title I school plan. If it's under development, then the plan will describe how parents and community stakeholders who may or may not reflect the demographic composition of the school are included as decision makers in the development of the Title I school-wide plan. If the plan doesn't meet expectations, then the parents and community stakeholders are advised of school decisions instead of being including the creation of the Title I school-wide plan. Another indicator that the plan will meet expectations will be that the school vision and mission for student success are collaboratively developed based on the beliefs and values of the school community, including families and community stakeholders who represent the most at-risk students. A plan under development will indicate that the school vision and mission for student success are communicated to families and are based on the beliefs and values of the school community. Parallel to that, a plan that doesn't meet the expectations will indicate that the school vision and mission for student success may not reflect the beliefs and values of the school community or may not be embraced by families and community members. And the last indicator here for this section will be that a plan that meets expectations will indicate that the plan, as well as all communication regarding its development, evaluation, and revision processes, are available in languages and formats accessible for every family and community stakeholder of the school. A plan under development will show that the Title I school plan is available in multiple languages and formats. Oh, and the plan that do not meet expectations will have a Title I school-wide plan posted in English on the school's website. So hopefully you'll be able to see the distinction between these three sections, and you will strive to do all and address all the meets expectations components, so you will have a well-written plan. So when you start recording the narrative statement, then you will address the above expectations and you will describe the strategies that your school is using to increase family and community stakeholder involvement. The second component will be the comprehensive needs assessment. And again, there is the checkbox where the school principal will certify that the Title I school-wide plan was developed based on the comprehensive needs assessment of the entire school and took into account information on the academic achievement of children in relation to the challenging state academic standards. A plan that meets expectations will include a variety of data, including performance, non-performance, process data about the school systems, and perception data gathered from several sources. A plan under development will include performance and or non-performance data gathered from a limited number of resources. And the plan that doesn't meet expectations will have some data gathered that is limited so that it's difficult to gain an accurate picture of the school's needs. A well-written plan will also include a detailed analysis of performance and non-performance data for each student subgroup identified in section 1111. A plan that's under development will examine student strengths and needs, and one that doesn't meet the expectations will include analysis of the student body as a whole or broken by the grade spans and content areas, but is not a in-depth analysis of data for each student subgroup identified in section 1111. That is not me. I have a disclaimer. There is some static, but anyway. So number 3 here, the indicator that will tell that the plan meets expectations will show that the plan examines student, teacher, school, and community strengths and needs. And a plan under development will examine just student strengths and needs, and one that's not, that doesn't meet expectations will examine student deficits. School leadership in collaboration with families and community stakeholders identify a manageable number of priorities at the right level of magnitude and align with the needs assessment for school improvement. Again, this will be an indicator for a plan well written. One under development will indicate that school leadership may be taking on too many or too few priorities, or priorities may not be at the right level of magnitude to produce positive, measurable results. A plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that school administrators have not clearly and transparently identified and communicated the school's priorities. And again, a plan well written will have evidence that show that the school's Title I school-wide plan and cycle of continuous improvement have improved outcomes for all students, particularly those most at risk. A plan under development will show evidence that the school plan, the school Title I school-wide plan and cycle of continuous improvement have improved outcomes for students in general. So here they are not targeted students at most risk. And again, a plan that doesn't meet expectations will have evidence or indicators that do not show that the school's Title I school-wide plan and cycle of continuous improvement have improved outcomes for students. So now that you have these prompts that will help you understand what the expectations are, you will go to the text box and you will start describing, addressing the above expectations. You'll start describing the outcomes of the school's comprehensive needs assessment, as well as a description of the data sources used in the process. The results should include detailed analysis of all student subgroups, an examination of student, teacher, school, and community strengths and needs, and the summary of priorities that will be addressed in the Title I school-wide plan. The third component talks about the school-wide plan strategies. And again, by checking the box, the school principal will certify that the strategies will provide opportunities for all children, including each of the subgroups of students. The strategies will use methods and instructional strategies that strengthen the academic plan in the school, increase the amount and quality of learning time, and help provide an enriched and accelerated curriculum, which may include programs, activities, and courses necessary to provide a well-rounded education. And they address the needs of all children in the school, but particularly the needs of those at risk of not meeting the challenging state academic standards. The strategies will provide professional development and other activities for teachers, paraprofessionals, and other school personnel, and they will be evidence-based as defined in ESSA section 8101. By now, I think that you got the picture that, you know, what we are trying to do here with the meets expectations, it's under development and does not meet expectations. So I'm going to go through a few of them, so I'll be able to cover the rest of the sections. So a plan well written under this section will indicate that strategies provided as strategies provide a detailed, enriched, and accelerated curriculum for all students, including each of the subgroups according to their needs. A plan under development will have strategies that provide an enriched and accelerated curriculum for most students, with plans in place to differentiate for struggling students. And a plan that doesn't meet expectations will have strategies that provide a basic curriculum intended for all students. A well-written plan, again, will indicate that the school provides multiple opportunities and evidence-based interventions for students in need and activities that address the outcomes of the comprehensive needs assessment in a way that will result in significant improvement in student learning. A plan under development will indicate that the school provides general interventions for students in need, and activities address some outcomes of the comprehensive needs assessment and may result in limited improvements in student learning. And a plan that does meet expectations will indicate that the school has not developed and implemented opportunities and evidence-based interventions, and activities may be purposefully designed but are not aligned with the comprehensive needs assessment. Again, a well-written plan will indicate that timely, effective, and additional assistance is provided for students experiencing difficulty mastering the state standards through activities which may include counseling, school-based mental health, specialized instructional support services, mentoring services, post-secondary education preparation, preschool children transition to local elementary school programs. A plan under development will outline additional, where am I? Number 3, additional ongoing assistance for students experiencing difficulty meeting state standards. And a plan that does meet expectations will indicate that additional assistance is provided to some students who are experiencing difficulty, but the interventions is not regular and ongoing. So addressing all these expectations, you will describe in the text box below the strategies the school will use to upgrade the entire educational program in order to improve the achievement of the lowest performing students, including how and when these strategies will be implemented. These strategies should be linked to areas identified in the comprehensive needs assessment and the site budget. The fourth component talks about coordination and integration, and here you will either check the first box where you will indicate that the Title I school plan was developed in coordination and integration with other federal, state, and local services, resources, and programs. Or if you consolidate funds, then you will check the second box indicated that state, local, and other federal programs are to be consolidated in Project 785, and the Title I Schoolwide Plan outlines the ways in which funds will be used to meet the intent and purpose of each program that was consolidated. A well-written plan that will meet expectations will leverage sufficient resources in terms of fiscal, human, and time resources to improve student outcomes. A plan under development will identify or will indicate limited resources to improve student outcomes. And the plan that doesn't meet expectations will identify resources that are insufficient to impact student outcomes. A well-written plan will leverage funding streams to connect the reform strategies that are developed. A plan under development will have funding streams that will support some but not all reform strategies. And a plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that funding streams do not support any of the reform strategies. A well-written plan will outline how the school will meet the intent and purpose of each funding source. A plan under development will outline how the school will meet the intent and purpose of some funding sources. And the plan that doesn't meet the expectations will be unclear and will have unclear descriptions of the intent and purpose of the funding sources. And a last indicator that will show that the plan meets expectations will be that the plan outlines how funds from Title I and other state and federal educational programs will be used to meet the intent and purpose of each program. A plan under development will have a limited description of how funds will be used to meet the intent and purpose of the programs. And the plan that doesn't meet expectations will have an unclear description of how funds will be used to meet the intent and purpose of the programs. Then you will have the text box where you will describe addressing the above expectations, and you will list the funding sources that you are using in your school-wide plan. And as an example, we have here like Title III Part A funds or donations or competitive grants or anything that is used in your school-wide plan that it's coordinated. And then you will describe the ways in which the funds are to be braided in the Title I school-wide program. The fifth component will talk about evaluation and plan revisions. And again, the principal will certify that the Title I school-wide plan will be regularly monitored and revised as necessary based on student needs to ensure that all students are provided opportunities to meet the challenging state academic standards. A well-written plan that meets expectations will indicate that school leadership, including families and community stakeholders, regularly monitor and adjust the implementation of the Title I school-wide plan based on the short and long-term goals for student outcomes, as well as measures to evaluate high-quality implementation. A plan under development will indicate that school leadership uses state assessments results to annually evaluate the Title I school-wide plan. A plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that school leadership does not have a regular process to monitor and adjust the Title I school-wide plan. We'll go back to the meets expectations section, and a well-written plan will indicate that the monitoring and revision of the Title I school-wide plan includes regular analysis of multiple types of data, for example, student learning, demographic, process, perception data. And necessary adjustments are made to increase student learning. A plan under development will indicate that the monitoring and revision of the Title I school-wide plan is based upon limited types of data and adjustments are not aligned to outcomes. A plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that some monitoring of the Title I school-wide plan takes place, but there is not a process to regularly adjust the Title I school-wide plan to increase student learning. And again, a plan that meets expectations will indicate that school leadership, including families and community stakeholders and instructional staff, regularly analyze interim and summative assessment data to evaluate instructional practices, determine patterns of student achievement, growth, and changes in growth gaps across classrooms, grade levels, and content areas. A plan that's under development will indicate that school leadership and instructional staff use summative and sporadic formative assessments to provide information about student achievement and growth gaps for individual grade levels and content areas. And if the plan doesn't meet expectations, then it will indicate that the school leadership reviews student achievement and growth data. So addressing the above expectations, you will have the chance to record in this text box below, and you will describe how the school, with assistance from the LEA, will annually evaluate the implementation of and results achieved by the Title I school-wide program using data from the state's annual assessments and other indicators of academic achievement to determine whether the Title I school-wide program has been effective in increasing the achievement of students in meeting the state academic standards, and how the school will revise the Title I school-wide plan as necessary based on the results of the evaluation to ensure that continuous improvement of students in the Title I, school-wide program. So this was the school-wide plan. This is the template that will be available, will be posted on the website sometimes next week, at the beginning of next week. And you may start thinking about the new format and distribute this to the site principals if you are one of the federal programs directors, and have them ready by the time you are ready to upload or submit the consultant application in GMS in the summer. I'm going to stop for a little bit and see if you have any questions about the school-wide plan, and I'm going to check the chat box, and I will address any questions that you have, and if you don't have any, I will move on with the targeted assistance plan. So there is a question that someone has: is this an initial plan for all of us since this is new? And the answer is yes. Everybody will have to start using this template starting with fiscal year or school year 2020-2021. Okay, I see no more questions at this time, so I'm going to move on with the targeted assistance plan. This is a mirror of the school-wide plan. It just has a bit of different components, but you'll still have the same data and informational data on the front page that you'll have to complete. Then the first component is parent and family engagement, which is pretty similar, I would say, if not the same, with the school-wide family parent and family engagement component. But there is the same checkbox where the principal certifies that the plan aligns with the requirements under Section 1116. Then we have the meets expectations, developing and does not meet expectations sections. You will have a text box where you will describe the strategies your school is using to increase family and community stakeholder involvement, addressing the above expectations. There is a there is a needs assessment and student identification section. This is specific to targeted assistance programs. But anyway, by checking the box here, the school principal certifies that the targeted assistance plan was developed based on a comprehensive needs assessment, taking into account data on student demographics, levels of achievement, family involvement, cultural climate, and staffing. The needs assessment includes an analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of the school and emphasizes strategies that help learners who have not met grade level requirements. And there is another certification that the students identified for targeted assistance belong to one of the populations described in ESSA Section 1115 C2 and are failing or most at risk of failing to meet the challenging state academic standards. A well-written targeted assistance plan will meet the expectations by indicating that the school has a well-defined process that's currently being implemented to identify students experiencing difficulty mastering the state's academic standards. A plan that's under development will indicate that the school has a process in place to identify students experiencing difficulty mastering the state's standards. And a plan that doesn't meet the expectations will have no process that's in place to identify students who are experiencing difficulty mastering the state standards. A well-written plan that meets expectations will include a variety of data, including performance, non-performance, process data, perception data, and it's gathered from several sources. And students identified for targeted services represent populations most at risk, identified as most at risk of failure. A plan under development will include performance or non-performance data gathered from a limited number of sources, and students identified represent at least one population most at risk of failure. A plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that data gathered is limited so that it is difficult to gain an accurate picture of the school's needs. Students identified for services do not represent an at-risk category. A well-written plan includes detailed analysis of performance and non-performance data for each student subgroup identified in Section 1115 of ESSA. Those that are economically disadvantaged, are migrant, are English learners, or students with disabilities. A plan under development will include detailed analysis of performance or non-performance data for one or more student subgroups identified in Section 1115. And a plan that doesn't meet the expectations will include an analysis of student body as a whole or broken up by grade span and content areas, but not in-depth analysis of data for each student subgroup identified in Section 1115. A plan that meets expectations will examine student, teacher, school, and community strengths and needs. One that's under development will examine student strengths and needs, and one that is not does not meet expectations will examine just student deficits. A plan that meets expectations will indicate that school leadership in collaboration with families and community stakeholders identifies a manageable number of priorities at the right level of magnitude and align with the needs assessment for assisting the targeted student population. A plan that's under development will indicate that the school leadership may be taking on too many or too few priorities, or priorities may not be at the right level of magnitude to produce positive measurable results. A plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that school administrators have not clearly and transparently identified and communicated the targeted assistance priorities. And a plan, again, that's well written will indicate that there is strong evidence that the school's Title I targeted assistance plan has improved outcomes for the targeted student population. A plan that's under development will have some evidence that indicates that the school's Title I targeted assistance plan has improved outcomes for the targeted student population. And the plan that doesn't meet expectation will have no clear evidence indicating that the school's Title I targeted assistance plan has improved outcomes for the targeted student population. Then you will record your narrative answer addressing the above expectations, and you will describe the outcomes of the school's comprehensive needs assessment, as well as a description of the data sources that you used in the process. The results should include detailed analysis of all student subgroups, an examination of student, teacher, school, and community strengths and needs, and the process for identifying the targeted student population, along with the summary of priorities that will be addressed in the Title I targeted assistance plan. I forgot to mention that there is no character limit, so you will have the chance to type in as much as you want. The third component of the targeted assistance plan refers to the targeted assistance plan strategies, and by checking the box here, the school principal will certify that the plan includes a description of the strategies that the school will implement to address the school needs, including a description of how such strategies will serve participating students identified as eligible under ESSA Section 1115, and help eligible children meet the challenging state academic standards, which may include programs, activities, and academic courses necessary to provide a well-rounded education. Also, the principal will certify that the methods and instructional strategies that are used will strengthen the academic programs of the school through activities which may include expanded learning time, before and after school program, summer school program, and opportunities, a tiered model to prevent and address behavior problems, and early intervention services. And also that the strategies are evidence-based as defined in ESSA section 8101. A well-written targeted assistance plan that meets expectations will have programs, activities, and academic courses necessary to provide a well-rounded education that are offered for identified eligible students according to their needs. A plan that's under development will have programs, activities, and academic courses necessary to provide a well-rounded education that are offered for identified eligible students. And a plan that doesn't meet the expectations will have strategies, programs, and activities that provide a basic curriculum intended for all students, not only for those identified as eligible students with high need of academic support. A well-written plan will indicate that the school provides multiple opportunities and evidence-based interventions for students in need, and address the outcomes of the comprehensive needs assessment in a way that will result in significant improvement in student learning. A plan that's under development will indicate that the school provides general interventions for students in need, and activities address some outcomes of the comprehensive needs assessment and may result in limited improvement in student learning. A plan that does meet expectations will indicate that additional assistance is provided for some students who are experiencing difficulty, but the intervention is not regular and ongoing. Yes, I skipped one. Again, a plan that meets expectations will have will indicate that timely, effective, and additional assistance, which may include extended learning time, was provided for students experiencing difficulty mastering state standards. A plan under development will indicate effective additional assistance is provided for students experiencing difficulty meeting state standards. And a plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that additional assistance is provided to some students who are experiencing difficulty, but the intervention is not regular and ongoing. The school comprehensive, the school, a plan well written that meets expectations will indicate that the school implements a comprehensive and coherent evidence-based approach to meet the needs of the students who are non-English speaking and who have limited English proficiency. A plan under development will indicate that the school has identified an approach to meet the needs of students who are non-English speaking or who have limited English proficiency, and most EL students are able to access the curriculum in a meaningful way. A plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that the school has not identified an approach to meeting the needs of students who are non-English speaking and who have limited English proficiency, and EL students are unable to access the curriculum in a meaningful way. Another indicator that the plan meets expectations would be that the school uses clear criteria and processes for student participation in tiered models to prevent and address behavior problems and early intervention services. A plan that's under development will indicate that the school uses clear criteria and processes for making decisions regarding student participation in tier support. And a plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that processes vary by grade level, teacher, or academic program regarding decisions about student participation in peer support. So the last indicator for a plan well written under this section will be that professional development and other activities are offered for teachers, paraprofessionals, and other school personnel to improve instruction and use the data from academic assessments. A plan under development will have professional development and other activities for teachers, paraprofessionals, and other school personnel, and are offered to improve instruction. And a plan that doesn't meet expectations will have limited or no professional development offered and other activities for their teachers, paraprofessionals, and other school personnel. Then you will have the opportunity to type in your a description of your plan addressing the above expectations, and you will describe the strategies, programs, and activities the school will use to serve participating students identified as eligible to help these students meet the challenging state academic standards and to strengthen the academic programs of the school. These strategies, programs, and activities should be linked to the areas identified in the comprehensive needs assessment and the site budget that you develop in GMS. The fourth component of the targeted assistance plan talks about the student transition. By checking the box, the school principal certifies that the school will help provide an accelerated high quality curriculum, will minimize the removal of children from the regular classroom during regular school hours for instruction provided under this part, and an ongoing basis review the progress of eligible children and revise the Title I assistance program under this section if necessary to provide additional assistance to enable such children to meet the challenging state academic standards. Again, we have the three sections: meets expectations, under development, or does not meet expectations. One of the indicators that the plan meets expectations will be that eligible students participate fully in core content and elective classes with additional instructional assistance under this part. If the plan is under development, then eligible students have limited participation in core content and elective classes and are occasionally pulled out from regular classroom for additional instructional assistance under this part. And the plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that eligible students are frequently pulled out from the regular classroom for instructional assistance under this part and have little to no participation in core content and elective classes. Another indicator that the plan meets expectations will be that clear procedures are in place for students to visit the next grade level, meet the teachers, and learn new procedures. A plan that's under development will indicate limited procedures are in place for students to visit the next grade level and meet the teachers and learn new procedures. And of course, for those that do not meet expectations, there will be no procedures in place for students to visit the next grade level, meet the teachers, and learn new procedures. Another indicator that the plan meets expectations will be that clear procedures are in place to receive new students. A school point of contact has been established and clearly communicated to the students, parents, and guardians. A plan under development will have some procedures in place to receive new students, and there is work in progress to establish a school point of contact and to communicate this information to the students, parents, and guardians. And for a plan that does meet expectations, there will be no procedures in place for students to visit the next grade level, meet the teachers, and learn new procedures. Oh, I guess I keep skipping. Okay. So Another indicator for the plan to meet the expectations will be that the staff members meet regularly in vertical teams to compare curriculum and plan strategies to close gaps in achievement for students transitioning from one level to another. An plan under development will have their staff members that meet occasionally in vertical teams to compare curriculum and plan strategies to close achievement gaps for students transitioning from one level to another. And for that plan that doesn't meet expectations, then there is little or no collaboration among the staff members to close gaps in achievement for students transitioning from one level to another. Again, you will type your narrative answer in the box below, addressing the above expectations, and you will describe the process that's in place to enable students to successfully transition among grade level, and if applicable, from preschool to kindergarten, from the elementary to middle school, from middle school to high school, and from high school to career and post-secondary institutions. Component number 5 talks about coordination and integration, and the school principal will certify that if appropriate and applicable, the Title I Target Assistance Plan was developed in coordination and integration with other federal, state, and local services and programs, such as programs supported under this act, violence prevention programs, nutrition programs, housing programs, Head Start programs, adult education programs, career and technical education programs, and comprehensive support and improvement activities or targeted support and improvement activities under Section 1111. And the plan outlines the way in which funds are to be braided. If the plan meets expectations, then it leverages sufficient resources. If the plan is under development, then limited resources are identified to improve student outcomes. And if the plan doesn't meet expectations, then the identified resources are insufficient to impact student outcome. If the plan meets expectations, then it leverages funding streams to connect the reform strategies developed. If it's under development, the funding streams support some but not all reform strategies. And if it doesn't meet expectations, then the funding streams do not support any of the reform strategies. Another indicator that the plan meets expectations would be that it outlines how funds from Title I and other state and federal education programs will be used to meet the intent and purpose of the programs. If it's under development, then the plan will have a limited description of how funds will be used to meet the intent and purpose of the programs. And if it doesn't meet expectations, then there is an unclear description of how funds will be used to meet the intent and purpose of the programs. Addressing the above expectations, you will complete the table below, indicating the funding source, the amount available, and how the intent and purpose of the program will be met. And then you will describe in the text box, addressing the above expectations, all the ways in which the above funds are to be braided in the Title I Targeted Assistance Program. The last component talks about evaluation and plan revision, and by checking the box, the school principal certifies that the progress of eligible students will be reviewed on an ongoing basis, and the Title I Target Assistance Plan will be regularly monitored and revised as necessary to provide additional assistance to enable such children to meet the challenging state academic standards. A plan that meets expectations will indicate that school leadership, including families and community stakeholders, regularly monitors and adjusts implementation of the Title I Target Assistance Plan based on short and long-term goals for student outcomes, and as well as measures to evaluate high-quality implementation. A plan that's under development will indicate that school leadership uses state assessment results to annually evaluate the Title I Target Assistance Plan. And the plan that does meet expectations will indicate that school leadership doesn't have a regular process to monitor and adjust the Title I Targeted Assistance Plan. A plan that meets expectations will indicate that monitoring and revision of the Title I Target Assistance Plan includes regular analysis of multiple types of data. A plan that's under development indicates that the monitoring and revision of the Title I Target Assistance Plan is based upon limited types of data, and adjustments are not aligned to outcomes. And the plan that doesn't meet expectations will indicate that some monitoring of the Title I Target Assistance Plan takes place, but there is not a process to regularly adjust the plan to increase student learning. And another indicator that the plan meets expectations will be that school leadership, including families and community stakeholders and instructional staff, regularly analyze interim and summative assessment data to evaluate instructional practices, determine patterns of student achievement, growth, and changes in growth gaps across classrooms, grade levels, and content area. A plan that's under development will indicate that school leadership and instructional staff use summative and sporadic formative assessments to provide information about student achievement and growth gaps for individual grade levels and content areas. And for a plan that doesn't meet expectations, the school leadership reviews student achievement and growth data with no community involvement and no other data assessment. So then you will have a text box where you will record your narrative answer addressing the above expectations, and you will describe how the school, with assistance from the LEA, will annually evaluate the implementation of and the results achieved by the Title I Target Assistance Program using data from the state's annual assessments and other indicators of academic achievement to determine whether the Title I Target Assistance Program has been effective in increasing the achievement of students in meeting the state's academic standards, particularly for those students who had been furthest from achieving the standards, and how the school will revise the Title I Target Assistance Plan as necessary based on the results of the evaluation to ensure continuous improvement of students in the Title I Target Assistance Program. So this is the template that you will be using for the Target Assistance Plans, and I'm going to turn to the chat box here and see if we have questions. So quite a few questions.
Make them bigger.
That's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so will a separate program review be needed, or is it now in this school-wide plan template? Well, if you buy separate program review, mean that you have your own template or your own process, then you can use your own process, but then you still have to record everything that you do for the revision of the program or for evaluating the program in this template. Another question, is it acceptable to complete this application using bullet points and short narratives? Yes, it would be acceptable as long as you can do that in that fillable form in PDF. Another question, do you know if charts or tables can be copied into the text boxes? I am not sure, but I would say tables are not able, you'll not be able to copy tables because that was one of the reasons why we didn't have our initial format, but you are welcome to try. I don't know for sure. Excuse me. They can do attachments. Well, I don't know if they can do attachment because the plan itself will be a PDF attachment, document that you upload. And I don't know if GMS will take other types of attachments. But we can come back to that. We'll probably will work more details as we go. Where is this PDF located? I guess I missed this part. It's not located anywhere right now, but it will be on the State Department of Education's website under federal programs. And it will be under Title I program. Can you indicate more specifically what it is meant by manageable number of priorities at the right level of magnitude means? Well, so each school will have their own priorities, and as long as you identify a sufficient number of priorities that can be addressed and well implemented, then I would say that's manageable. It's a manageable number. There is not a prescribed number, so we won't be able to say you have to have 2 or 10 or 100, but again, it will be based on the student needs, the school demographics, the capacity, the staff capacity that you have. You will have to determine if it's manageable and it's doable in your own school. Another question, when do you anticipate this PowerPoint being available to share with our principals? Next week, at the beginning of next week, more than likely. Another question, in the evaluation section under meets expectations, you mentioned interim and summative assessment, and in the developing, you mentioned formative assessments. Shouldn't we be using interim, formative, and summative assessments under meets expectations? Well, I'll probably have to read this more in depth, but I believe that you can use interim, formative, and summative assessments. So the development section was meant to describe situations when you do less than what you do under the meets expectations. So if we have missed a word or if we have repeated ourselves in any way, please email us and we will evaluate and analyze the template as well. Another question, if a site doesn't meet expectations in all categories per each section, will it be approved? So we all hope that you will strive to meet expectations, and you may have a portion of the plan where you will be in that category where you don't meet expectations, but it will be work in progress. Yes, the principal will have to approve the plan, and it is a lot of responsibility, like local responsibility that you will take with this plan. I don't know if it will be approved or rejected necessarily because you don't meet expectations here and there, but we will definitely work with you and find the way that you can improve the plan and the program in your school. Another question, if separate from the school-wide plan, is there a template or preferred format for the annual needs assessment or for the annual program review? The answer is no, we do not have a preferred comprehensive needs assessment form. So you will be welcome to use your own format. There is no template for the annual program review. Again, you will use your own templates and formats. If you have good ones, we are more than happy to take suggestions, and maybe we can work together with you to help other districts in the state. But no, at this time there is no prescribed or any template or format for the needs assessment or for the program review. Another question, will there be an area where we attach documentation like the previous template? Can you tell us when the plan is due? So you have to think about this template as a document itself. This document will be an attachment in the consolidated application, right, in Title I. So I believe at this point that there will be not, GMS will not have the possibility or the capacity to upload multiple documents because there may be revisions to these plans. There may be, every time when you amend an application, you will, this original template will be kept there, and then you will upload a new one that will reflect any updates. So that being said, you may have several revisions during the school year when you will upload multiple versions of these templates. So I believe at this point there will be no possibility to upload other documents other than this template, so version 1, version 2, version, and so on. But we will check with GMS and we'll confirm later when we'll have our Title I training later this summer. And the plan is due when the consolidated application is due. So Gloria, help me here. Is it September 30th still? Okay. So it will be due with the consolidated application. So another question, if a site plan needs to be revised, will the entire consolidated application need to be rejected? Unfortunately, it's like with any other program, if any part of the application needs revisions, then the entire consolidated application will be rejected. So the answer is yes. So the program reviewer will work with you and communicate to you what needs to be done. Another question, will the consolidated application reviewer also review and approve the plan? The answer is yes, because this is part of the Title I application, and there will be one reviewer assigned for each consolidated application and claims and supportive documentations and everything else. These are very good questions. My mouth is dry from reading so much and answering so much, but I will wait a few more minutes. If you do not have any more questions right now, but if you think of anything else, please feel free to either email me or email the assigned reviewer. You may start with the assigned reviewer because I don't have my email address here posted, but I can quickly mention it. It's corina.ene@sde.ok.gov. I have one more question. I hope the new plan training will be earlier than August 1. If you wait until August when school is starting, principals will be overwhelmed. We do plan to have the application training earlier than August. We don't have a specific date at this time, but we are striving to have everything as early as possible, that you will have the chance to plan and work on the budgets and upload and submit the application in GMS as soon as possible. Yes. So you can work on this template now until the application is ready to be uploaded in GMS, but then you will have to upload the plan and submit the application all at once. You'll do that in GMS. We don't anticipate too many changes in the consult application. So hopefully if you are already familiar with the format that we have in GMS and how we consolidated almost all of the programs under the consolidated application, then again, we don't anticipate too many changes. Another question, what steps does a site that wishes to become school-wide need to follow to begin the process to be school-wide? So they will start with the school-wide intent, which is still part of the consolidated application. Then because everything happens in the consolidated application, then it will seem that everything is submitted at once. So you will have to, by the deadline, make sure that by September 30th, and again, the sooner the better, I would say, but by the deadline, you have the application submitted to the State Department in GMS, and you will have the letter of intent or the school-wide intent there. You will have the plan uploaded, and you'll have the application submitted, and or the budgets worked out. But again, there is no separate document, there is no separate process. We try to simplify it for both sides, for both parties, you as a district and us as reviewers. So the school-wide intent, the school-wide plan, and the consolidated application, and the budgets will be all in the consolidated application and submitted all at once. But in order for you to be considered for school-wide for the next school year, you will have to meet the deadline of September 30th.
I think that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for participating. These were all great questions. Please email more questions because that will help us strengthen the process, and it will probably open our eyes to, and see things with a different lens. But thank you again for participating, and have a good day.